All right, we are now live on Facebook. We got it working. This is great. What's up, Bill?
Not much, AJ. Great to see you, man. How's everything?
Dude, life is good, my friend. It's good to be back on here. We had your top agent in our top attractor interview probably about a year ago, and invited you back to cover lunch and learns, events, and building a strong local culture. So I'm excited to dive into that. But first, I would like for you to kind of share a little bit of the success that you've had at eXp with everyone watching and everyone watching the replay.
Sure. So no one knows my story. I was at Keller Williams forever. And then I went to a discount firm where it was only like $250 a transaction. My cap was $7,000 a year. So, but I got a call from Craig and Shelley, Craig LePage and Shelley Johnson, good friends of mine. And they said, take a look at this model. And I was like, man, I'm really happy where I'm at. I'm not going anywhere, And they're like, take a look at it. Then when I sat down, I saw the stock, the revenue share part. I was like, well, it's a kind of no-brainer, right? I was, without a doubt, I tease them all the time. I was the easiest person to ever approach. I mean, we sat down for beer, 5 minutes in, I'm like, okay, just send me the application, I'm in. AJ, I had a 5-year plan where I thought I could attract over 5 agents a year. And after 5 years, I would have about 100 agents total in my organization. And I just figured, something, that's good for 60, 70 grand a year, right? I was thinking, and okay, that's like a pension that most teachers and firemen and police officers take 30 years to get. Well, I am 3.5 years in. I should hit 1,900 people this weekend in my organization, and I have 35 people on my level 1. So it's absolutely changed my life by 20-fold where I thought it was going to be.
That's incredible, man. I'm pulling up here the rankings report. As soon as you cross over 2,000, which is going to be pretty soon, there's currently only 23 people in the entire company over 2,000, and you'll make that 24. So that's pretty exciting.
Yeah, it is pretty exciting. I know in that group, it changes color. So I become like orange. I think I become orange or yellow. Yeah, maybe yellow. I can't remember. But yeah, it's a good, when I look at that group, I'm really like, wow, there's you and there's Brent Gove and Cliff Freeman and Craig and Shelley and Jay Kinner, Michael Reese, Al Stasek. I mean, these are the cream of the crop when it comes to real estate and real estate coaches. And I'm excited for Arizona next week. Going out to Arizona, Brent Gove's got another one of his big events. And it's going to be awesome. Going to go out there, collaborate with Lauren Rocco and Karen Head, Heidi Hines, and Lars and John Mikich. It's going to be a good time.
Yeah, that's
Shelley
awesome.
And Craig, yeah.
Leaders go to events. That's a fact.
Yeah, definitely.
So cool, man. So you got almost 1,900 agents this weekend. You've been with eXp how long now?
3.5 years.
3.5 years. Got 1,900 agents. You 20x your 5-year plan in just 19 months or 3.5 years. So like, what does that like look like in your life? Like, share with everyone kind of the new lifestyle that you're able to enjoy because of creating this residual income through rev share.
Great question. So I'm on the phone with a good friend of mine, and we're doing a deal together. I used to sell, AJ, over 60, 70 homes a year by myself all the time. And I was on that hamster wheel. It just kept going. I never had time. You're missing your son scoring a soccer goal, it's just because you turn around from watching the game, answering the phone. It doesn't happen anymore. But when I was talking to my friend the other day, and we're doing a deal, it's just a rental property that I own. Every time I talk to him, hey, I got to call you back. I got another deal. Hey, I got to call you back and get another phone call. He is so like on point, nonstop answering his phone and trying to get the deal done with him. He's just extremely busy. That used to be me. Now it's totally different because I have this organization that I'm very proud of. They all worked very hard. I appreciate everything that they do on a daily basis. But, I get up this morning, I spend time with my kids. I fed my both boys, got them dressed. My wife came back from working out and we dropped the kids off at school. We went down to the waterfront in downtown St. Augustine. We went to our favorite breakfast place, Mary's. Then we walked along the water. And then I was like, hey, man, I got to get back to the office. I got this call I'm doing with AJ. And after I get off with you, I'm going to the gym and then going to hit 9 holes at 4 o'clock. So my life has changed. This is how it is. If you guys can see me, ready? I'm like this now. It's just a relief, a total relief. When I used to go on vacation, AJ, and say we go away 10 days, the last day, 7, 8, 9, my wife knows I'm getting a little jittery because I'm thinking we just spent 10 grand on this vacation, and where and when is my next sale going to come from? And I am all of a sudden on the phone, my 7th, 8th, 9th day vacation. It doesn't happen anymore. It took me, I would say, about 6 months to realize building your own level ones, it takes commitment. Like Brent Gove did every Friday, he blocked out 4 or 5 hours. You go call 8 to 10 realtors, you make appointments for 2 or 3 of them the following week. And as you always said at the sprint event in Orlando, there's a commonality with agents that do great in rev share. They signed up 2 personal level ones every month. And if you look at everyone in the top, probably 30 in the company, they've all averaged pretty much 2 level ones every month.
Yeah.
It changed my life. I mean, the best thing that ever happened, and you're our general in Charlotte, you had enough guts 4 years ago to go out there and say, I'm going to give this eXp thing a try, right? No one heard about it. And then you approached Craig and Shelley, and they approached me, and we all worked together at Keller Williams. So it starts somewhere. So I'm very appreciative that you started the ball rolling. Because AJ, when I went out there to try to agent a track when I first came over, and I would say, hey, you got to come have lunch with me. I got to talk to you about eXp. And they'd be like, ESP? I was like, no, eXp Realty, it's virtual real estate company. And they're like, ESP? I'm like, my God, if I had ESP, I'd know exactly what to say to you that you'd come over and join EXP. So everyone always thought it was ESP. I was like, no, man, it's not ESP.
So it's cool now. So basically what you just described about like how your life's changed is like, I always talk about the 3 freedoms or freedom. And you were selling in Charlotte. Now you have your home in St. Augustine that you get to spend a lot of time at, and you got your boys there at school, and you still split time in Charlotte, obviously, but that's location freedom. You just described your wonderful Friday, taking your boys to school, getting them dressed, walking the beach, going to breakfast with your wife. That's time freedom, and you can only have time and location freedom if you got financial freedom. So that's pretty cool, man.
Yeah, you know, awesome. AJ, forever. I just said, if we want this, if we want a pool in our backyard, I have to sell 70 homes next year, not 60. If we want that nicer house in the peninsula, I have to sell 70 homes the next 3 years, right? So I could always work harder and make more money, but then my time with my family shrank. And what happened when to eXp, the sales in real estate went down a little bit and my time went up because my organization grew. And as my organization grew, I acquired more stock and more revenue share. So now I have time. We can never buy time, AJ. The time is earned. You can't buy it.
Yep. Yeah, that's it, man. You made a strategic choice to stop selling so much houses. It's like, I don't know anyone that got their real estate license because their primary goal was to sell a lot of houses. Like they got their real estate license because they wanted more income. They wanted freedom. They wanted to take control of their schedule so they could spend more time with their family. So I think a lot of agents lose track of that, when they start getting the accolades of production and all that. And so, well, let's jump into it, man. Amazing, dude. You've been crushing it. I'm so proud of you, man. And I know you're an inspiration for our entire group. So thank you for that. So let's talk about, the beginning, the beginning of Lunch and Learns, at least. I want to make sure we talk about the Lunch and Learns, the big events, and then also, like the leadership stuff, the fun stuff we do in Charlotte, and how that all kind of ties together. So let's start with kind of your philosophy around Lunch and Learns and how that came about.
So the Lunch and Learns came from my past. So 25 years ago, I opened up a Subway sandwich shop in Connecticut, and then my business partner opened another one. We want to own 10. But we didn't realize, we were young and dumb at the time, that the territory sold out. We couldn't open any more than 2. So we could never support our family owning 2 Subway sandwich shops. So when I moved to Charlotte, I opened up a hot franchise at the time, Curves for Women. But what did I learn, AJ, from Subway? If you're doing another business, you better be able to control the area. So I opened up 6 Curves for Women all around the lake. There's only 7, so I own 6 of them. So I controlled the narrative right there, and I controlled the growth of the market. And I was even allowed to charge extra $10 a month. So the income was really good, right? If you have 400 or 500 clients every month giving you $40 instead of $30, it worked. So when I went to eXp, I said, okay, we need to control the market. So I looked at a few key players. One at the time, my friend Terrence Grogan, Rich Tomasini, Tom Hawker, and then Rich got Eric, and we started doing lunch and learns at the community clubhouse that I lived at. I said, guys, I don't want to go and just meet one agent every week. Let's try to get 35 agents in a room. And it worked, and it was great. So then back to the franchise example and controlling the territory, I said, let's go and expand these. So at one time, AJ, we had a lunch and learn all around Charlotte in the town of Cornelius, Concord, Dilworth, which is Charlotte, South Park, Ballantyne, and University. So we had 5 or 6 going, and they were like Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. So if I invited you to lunch and learn, and you're like, oh man, I live in South Charlotte, I'd say, no problem. We got one tomorrow in South Charlotte. So did that on purpose. It's like, let's saturate the lunch and learns, and let's get some momentum. And that's what worked. You know, the lunch and learns work because all of a sudden you're doing your presentation, okay? And you have 30 heads nodding yes in a room, and they're looking around at everyone else nodding yes. So they're all in agreement. There's power in numbers. And I'll tell everyone, and I never said this to you, but I remember doing lunch and learns, and people would look at me and say, so how's your stock? I'm like, no, I really don't have any. How's your rev share? I don't know, I made $100 last month. So that's why I got on the phone and said, AJ, you got to come to these lunch and learns because AJ had stock and he had rev share. So he was living proof that this model works, you know? So, and you know, that's how we all help each other, right? Because, you know, I think it's a give and take. Like we help each other even if we're not in our downline. So the next step, AJ, after the lunch and learns, I felt like we needed some big events. And a few of us collaborated. You know, we got Jason Gessing down, and he was great. We did a presentation. He talked about the company, and then we formed, you know, a great leadership team. And you know all the people on it: me, you, Craig, Shelley, Rich, Tom, Keeley, Marcus, Dilly. I'm going to leave a few out, but I mean, Lauren Rocco, Heidi Hines. So we would meet at a restaurant, guys, and it would be once a quarter. And it grew to almost 40 people, Kathy Burns too. And we said, hey guys, what are we going to do next? What do you think? This is what we have slated. We're going to have Brent Gove come in, you know. What do you think of that? This is where it's going to be. And sure enough, we had 275 people show up. And it just kept going. You know, after that, we always had to have someone big, right? So we went Jason, Brent Gove. After Brent Gove, we did Gene Frederick, we did Sheila Varajan, and then we did Brent Gove again. And then guess what, guys? We had one of our own that was big enough to fly in. Then we had AJ Mida flying from Puerto Rico, and he was the guest star, the guest speaker. These big events are great. We missed them greatly because of COVID, but you, me, Shelley, and Craig are talking about doing another one in September in Charlotte.
Well, don't miss the biggest recruiting event that's ever happened in the history of the company. Who were our guests there at the Charlotte Convention Center?
Oh yeah, we had one. This is pretty cool. So Craig and I are sitting at an event we had in Charlotte with Brent Gove. We're leaning against the wall in the back, and there was 500 people in front of us. No, 400. I'm sorry, 425. And I look at Craig and I say, Glenn Sanford. He goes, why not? So I called up Glenn Sanford and said, Glenn, if we can get 500 people in a room, would you fly out? He said yes, right? Because at the time, a year and a half ago, there wasn't any non-sanctioned eXp events besides anything that Brent did that would pull that many people. So I kind of sandbagged him because I knew we could get 500, right? So I called up Dave Kennard and then Gene, and we had in the Charlotte Convention Center, we had Glenn Sanford, Dave Kennard, Gene Frederick, and it was a total of 725 agents that showed up for that. So that was really awesome. I mean, just think, AJ, when you came on board, there was maybe 50 agents in all of North Carolina, right? What do we have now? It's got to be well over 2,000. Easy.
Yeah, I think it's getting close to 3,000. And what's crazy, like the event that we did, it wasn't like come learn how to recruit agents. This was a giant lunch and learn. Like that's what's powerful about it. And the night before we were all there in downtown Charlotte, and we went to, I think, was it Morton Steakhouse?
Fleming's.
What was it?
Fleming's.
Yeah, with Fleming's, had like 40 of the Charlotte leaders there. Like this is the kind of stuff that builds such a strong local culture. And we got to have lunch with Dave Kennard and Glenn Sanford the day before too. And like, it's just really cool. So let's talk about we talk about big picture, what it can look like tactically, everyone's wondering like, wow, 725 agents, I could never do that. So let's kind of go back to day one, like as a new agent, like what could they do to start Lunch and Learn? Like what would be your advice there?
So the big thing is, I always said it's a we thing, not an I thing. Okay. Find a group of people that you can work together. Like I always say, your bottom number, like I'm at 35 level ones and I'm going to say 1,900 in my organization. That 1,900 is so much more important than that 35. You have to have time to support your whole organization. That's the key to this. So if you're a new agent, I would try to find other agents in the area that are eXp, go grab lunch with them and say, hey, I want to start doing lunch and learns. You can call any of us, Pat Hayes, Brent Gove, Scott Lewis, people that have done big events, and we would guide you through it. So you go meet some agents and say, hey guys, let's pull resources. Where can we have the lunch and learn? Okay, so pick a place. The cheapest place is at a community center. Every person, someone that lives in a big community, they have a common area you could use. And the next cheapest thing to feed everyone is Publix. And it's a grocery store. They actually have great food and they deliver it with knives, spoons, forks, everything, cups. And it was like $5.25 a person. Now, you don't have to pay for it. Go get your lender to pay for it. If the room is free or $100 and the food might be $300, a lender, an insurance contact, insurance agent, any of these guys will help you. Home warranty company will help you pay for your lunch and learn. You go get 4 sponsors and you do one every other week. They're fine with coming out of pocket 4 or 6 times a year if they can get in front of 25, 30 agents. So that's step one. Find some agents that are willing to work with you. Don't care if they're not in your downline or not. It doesn't matter. Don't be petty about that. You need to get 4 or 5 agents. Why? Let's say we have 5 agents at AJ, and we all invite 4 people apiece. And let's say 2 people show up. At least you got 14 or 15 people in the room. That's how it starts. 2 weeks later, you're going to have 18 people in the room, because anyone that joins, you're going to look at them and say, support your group, support us, invite them to the lunch and learn. And a kind of domino effect. It will just morph into something bigger. So get the agents that are willing to work with you, find a location that works, find a sponsor that's going to pay for the food. And then obviously you have to practice the model. Go at home. We will all give you a slideshow. It doesn't matter. We all have them now. And you're going to have to do the presentation, just like you've seen Brent Gove do it so many times, the model explained. And I would say split it up to 3 people. It's always good to split it up. You do different age groups. AJ, what are you, 20 years younger than me? So it's great to have a young face out there touching base for the millennials, an older guy like me that can relate to maybe someone who's been in real estate 25 years. So mix that up too. And everyone should get practice. It shouldn't just be the same 3 people giving the presentation every week. Get like 6 or 8 agents, because the more that your organization practices this presentation, especially in front of a crowd, the better they're going to get at it, and have some fun doing it. Listen, when you're giving this presentation, you're going to forget stuff. right? You're going to say, oh, I forgot to say something about the stock, or I forgot to say something about the rev shares willable, whatever. Don't worry about it. Don't sweat it. It's so much information. Just keep it fun, keep it light, keep them intrigued. And that's when they'll call you back. And after you have someone at Lunch and Learn and they're really excited, make sure you make up a follow-up appointment or phone call in the next day or two to meet up with them for coffee and get them to sign up.
Yeah. Let me jump in real quick. I want to kind of share, everything that you just touched on from my perspective as like just being a newer agent getting involved, because you had been doing these for probably a couple months before I joined in, when you reached out to me and invited me into what you're doing. And I remember we were expanding to Denver, North Carolina, and it was like my responsibility and like a couple other people's responsibility to fill the room, to be the presenters. And that was a big deal to me, because when Bill talks about having 3 presenters, but like 4, 5, 6 leaders for each location, but always 3 presenters, it gets more engagement, it puts more skin in the game from these people, because no one wants to speak to an empty room. I remember making calls to agents and inviting them for lunch and thinking like, I am not going to speak to an empty room. So having 3 presenters is really powerful. And then also we practice, like you said, like I remember sitting in the Peninsula in Cornelius, and we all practiced our parts. I remember practicing before I showed up to practice. I practiced on the car there because I didn't want to look like an idiot in front of you guys. And we gave honest feedback, and some people didn't practice, and it was very clear they didn't practice. And it was like, hey, you gotta get better before you actually present, because it's clear that you didn't practice. And, and we treated it like professionals. We didn't just show up and let's see what happens. Like we're doing this. Like we were all in. And I feel too many agents come to agent attraction like, well, let's just see what happens. And they don't treat it like a real business.
Oh, wow, AJ, don't treat it like a real business. So many don't. And I've had a few agents after like a year and a half, they recruited a few agents. And then all of a sudden I get a phone call. I just got $3,200 in rev share. How'd that happen? I was like, I guess you don't go to your eXp Enterprise too much, because they're not keeping track who's coming on. And then all of a sudden they're like, I got to spend a little more time on this. Now all of a sudden that person's making $7 or $8 grand a month. Yeah, listen, when it was like my 4th check, it was like $2,500, right? Or $2,400. I was like, wow, that's my mortgage. I was like, how cool is this? Yeah. It is definitely life changing. Gene Frederick always said, we're changing agents' lives.
Yeah.
I've always said, AJ, when I went to Lunch and Learn, I was like, we sell a lot of houses, we have a lot of fun, and we change agent lives. That's what we do. Because it's not just Lunch and Learns that we did, AJ. After Lunch and Learns, remember we talked to Craig and Shelley, we decided we had to do some local education. And we used Craig and Shelley's office. And we started having, training there on a bi-weekly basis. And even CE, we would have CE come in. What a great way. We would invite even not any agent, non-eXp agents to the CE class. It's just total collaboration. You definitely have to give back.
Yeah, let's go to that in a second. I just want to wrap up the Lunch and Learn part of it. We had Lunch and Learns where there was like 4 people in the room. Like I remember us going there as we expanded locations. We'd come in to like help launch or whatever, or maybe it was our own, and people just had an off week and didn't make the calls. And there's like 4 or 5 people in the room, and we're like, geez, we need to do better next time. So when you guys are listening to this, don't be afraid to start small. It wasn't always a smashing success. Our biggest one was 725. Our smallest was probably 1. And sometimes that's where you got to start. And if you're the only one in your market, invite 3 friends, buy them lunch, and hit play on the modelexplain.com. Edify Brent, and then just hit play on the video. You can also do it that way. But just start. You just got to start and pick the same day at the same time. Bill always said, rain, shine, it doesn't matter unless it's Christmas or 4th of July, it's happening. Right, Bill? Like
that's right.
It was consistent. It was consistent. You didn't miss.
Yeah, you had to keep doing it. And what's really important, like AJ said, we've had them where 2 people show up. Well, sometimes it's better to have the 2 right people than the 10 wrong people.
Yeah.
And
they really weren't that expensive. Like, even if you paid for it yourself, it's like agents are spending $1,000 on Zillow a month. They're paying $400 for a transaction coordinator. They're paying $200 for professional photography, but they don't want to spend $200 on a lunch where 10 people show up to hear the opportunity that can create enough residual income to be equal to 5 rental properties. Like it's insanity. So even if you are paying, I mean, we got to the point, Bill, where we were paying it for ourselves because we didn't even want to deal with vendors. Like we're like, let's just pay for it so we don't have to keep coordinating vendors. It just made more sense. Vendors are great. In the big events, we definitely need the vendors because they're expensive. But it's like, if you're all in, it's like, just make it happen. No excuses. But the Peninsula was at a golf club, beautiful venue. I mean, how much was that per week for like 20 people?
So the first one I did, so everyone can hear me, I paid myself. It was $734. So I adjusted the menu, okay, and brought it down to like $475. And there was like 4 or 5 of us splitting it, and then AJ, when you, Craig, Shelley, and I would split it, I think it was like $425, and we do it every other week. So it was like a couple $100 a month out of our pockets. But what a great way to get in front of agents.
And at a beautiful venue. I think if you can, like if you're making good money from real estate, try to get it at a nice venue. I think that kind of raises the bar when people walk in. They feel good because they're at a country club. It's good food. You got a view of the golf course. I think that just helps the energy. But if it has to be, at the community center, at, a title company's office, that's fine too. Just make sure you're doing it on neutral ground. Don't have them at your office. That's important too.
Yeah.
Man, I miss those lunches at the Peninsula. It was good food and it was fun. The other thing that Lunch and Learns do, Bill, is it creates running partners. We always talk about how you have a running partner. You have a running partner. Like I had been in for a while, about 11 months probably before you and I really connected. And I didn't really have a running partner. You got with Rich and Tom, so you kind of had your running partners forming. And when I got involved with you guys, it was cool because we were showing up on a weekly basis. We were excited about the opportunity. We would go down to the lounge afterwards and just talk and just laugh and just talk about what our goals are, our vision, and that was really important. I always say stay in the energy, be in the energy, plug in, and this is a great way to just create running partners, create a buzz in your local market with people. So.
And what's fun? You said we go down to the club, underneath the main floor, and we would, have a burger, have a beer, and there'd be a group of us. And we it was good because, that was good. Or they would make fun of me or I would make fun of them. Look, remember what you said? You said, you sell so much, you get $50,000 in stock. Where did that come from? Like sometimes people just have brain farts, but collaboration, you're connecting with your leaders, so yeah, it was actually a lot of fun.
Yeah, it was good. So step 1, guys, just really pick a venue. Step 2, if you can get people involved, enroll them into the vision, even if they're not on your downline, get them. Step 3, either you present with a couple other people or just hit play on the video. Like that's literally all you need to do. And then invite. I mean, if you want one person to show up, I mean, you might have to call 10, 20 people. If it's a warm market, yeah, maybe you can invite 5 and get 2 there. But just know, like, if the Lunch and Learns on Thursday, we found Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday to be our favorite days in the Charlotte market. You got to start calling Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday to fill up Thursday. So that's the entire process for Lunch and Learns, guys. It's simple. You just got to do it. Anything else you want to add before we move on?
Yeah, absolutely. So I said, we sell a lot of houses, we have fun, and we change agents' lives. So we said, something? There's agents out there that want to feel part of a community. They want to do stuff, So we went to a hockey game, and we had like 27, 28 agents at a hockey game. We had like a whole section. We all wore jerseys and hats. Holiday parties, Christmas parties, always have our Christmas party. We did a great thing was the escape room. Now, when you get locked in a room, you have clues, you got to try to get out. Well, a lot of realtors or most realtors have pretty big egos and they're always right? And you put 7 or 8 big egos leaders in the room and they have to work together. It's cool. They're going to learn a lot about each other, and you'll find out different personalities and how to make adjustments yourself going forward. We had cocktails for closers. Keeley was big with that, or third Thursdays, every third Thursday, you meet together for a happy hour. And that's the key, you got to create that culture in the local community. It's not just about selling houses and rev sharing stock. Let's get to know each other on a personal level. That's important.
It's huge. It drives everything. I still think of the Carolinas, North Carolina, Charlotte area specifically as like the rock foundation for my entire rev share group. And it's because in that market, we're the #1 company in the MLS now. We're the fun place to be at. We're the strongest culture. We did the C, like you said, Craig and Shelley opened up their office to trainings. I mean, we'd have 100 people at Craig and Shelley's office for trainings. Like eXp, non-eXp didn't matter. 2 Christmas parties a year. It became the fun place to be, and other agents see that. I saw Shelley and some other people organized the Whitewater Center there yesterday. So the events are still happening. You're in Florida right now. I'm in Puerto Rico right now, and the events are still happening. The Whitewater Center, it's duplication. It's carrying on, and that's important because agents like to have fun. And if the company's not fun, they're not going to stay. And for the ones that don't make it to the events, I mean, if you go to the events, where else are you going to go? Because these people come in your family. The events are amazing. If you don't go, you have to, because all the real players go. But you got to make it local for people that don't make it out of town. There's a lot of agents like that will never get on a plane and go to a conference. But if you can do the escape rooms, Charlotte Knights games, hockey games, it's pretty special. So,
and we're not doing corporately. There's just a bunch of eXp agents we're getting together. This is not like, owner of a, KW or Century 21 franchise decide once a year he's going to take his agents out. No. We're doing this on our own. And I never experienced that before. I've been at 3 other real estate companies, right? 16 years selling real estate, and never did a group of agents, decide to organize something, an event, and go out and do something. We're doing it once a quarter. Yeah. Look what Shelley just did, last night. And I think we're going to do end of July baseball game at Knight Stadium, Yeah. And we don't talk real estate, AJ. When we go there, we don't talk real estate. We talk families.
Yeah, maybe some people talk a little real estate. Yeah. It's a bunch of realtors. Yeah. But no, like you just have fun is what you do. And I want to point out too, like if you're serious about doing this, you have to plan it in advance. Like end of year, Bill's always reaching out to me, Craig, Shelley, like, all right, this is the training calendar I got. What do you think? Should we add something? Should we take it away? Like, who are we getting for this quarterly event? Like, it was always a quarterly big event with a weekly lunch and learns, monthly masterminds, leadership masterminds. You started doing it like Macaroni Growth, 20 leaders. Like, this was planned out the entire year in advance. If you don't plan it out at least the quarter before, it's not going to happen. You're not just going to wing an event. That goes back to treating this like a business, treating it like a professional. Bill took charge, and he's like, this is our plan for the whole year. And Bill's vision was so big, he knew he needed everyone's help to get to where he wanted to go. So he enrolled the other leaders, brought everyone together, and together we all achieved more. And I was just so impressed when you came to me a few years ago with that calendar, like a year in advance. I'm like I'm the type of person that hates like to schedule stuff because I just like to do my thing. And Bill's like, I got the whole year planned, and I'm like, this is exactly what we need. Thank you. And we implemented.
AJ, what was key was me, Rich, and Tom were doing the Peninsula. Then we had leaders, Terrence and Aubrey Cook and Heather Luttrell doing Concord. We had Keeley and Kathy Burns doing, Valentine Hour. We had Holly and Lori Lord and other Kathy Burns doing South Park. We had Marcus Dilly doing Fort Mill with John Somjak, and I'm forgetting some leaders, but we had leaders at every location that I know I could count on that, listen, I called it putting asses in seats. You're going to have a lunch and learn. You're responsible to reach out to your downline and put asses in seats for that next Tuesday or Wednesday. Come on, we want a good turnout. So I would push people in my downline, and so would Rich and so would Tom, to invite them, make sure they invite their level ones to a lunch and learn. And hey, by the way, AJ, this is important, really important. If I just joined AJ and you had a lunch and learn, even if I did not have someone to come that I was trying to, recruit over, I would still go because I need to get really good at the presentation myself. So I would go there and listen. And who did it more than anyone was Keely. Keely came to 6 of my lunch and learns in a row. She's like, I just have to know this solid. And she just kept coming and kept coming. So that's the attitude of a leader. Just get entrenched in it and absorb it.
That's a good point too. Like even if you're not speaking, you still show up because you lead by example, but also you're getting resold every single week yourself. Like we've all had moments where we're like, is it worth it? Is it going to work out? Wow, I just almost thought I had this level 1, but they joined somebody else. Like you face disappointments, but when you're showing up every week, whether or not you're a speaker, if you're never a speaker and someone else is hosting in your market, keep showing up because you get resold yourself every single week. And you're like, oh, this is why I'm here. This is cool. By any chance, Bill, do you know if you have like a recorded lunch and learn like on a YouTube channel somewhere or something that we could post it in the comments so people can see what that looks like?
I tell you what, I'll double check. I'll ask Nick if he has one. He's probably the way to go with that.
We'll work on that. If we find it, it'll be in the comments of this video. And I'll also post a couple of presentations in the comments here and also in the file sections of this group, Game Changers. So you guys can use that as a resource. So check the file section or the comments for the presentation. And if we can find a recording of one, awesome. Either way, I'll post one of Brent's that he does, that he did live for us in Charlotte. And it'd be cool if we found like one of like the more original ones, but I know we weren't recording them really. So hopefully we can find one.
We can see how many mistakes we made.
Yeah, it'll be embarrassing for sure. But, that's good for people to see, because now they can say, well, Bill's got 1,900 agents. I could never do that. But it's like, no, look back when we had 50, 20, like this is where it started.
And so, one last piece of advice I like to give people doing a lunch and learn. Have a table at the entrance of the room. Have someone sitting down greeting people with an open book. What's your name? Who invited you? And give them a name tag. Because when you're up there making the presentation, it's all about connecting with people. If you can look down and say, hey, Cindy, who are you with? You're with so-and-so? Great having you here. But you can go back and forth and having fun because you can look at someone's name. If John came over and had a sale, he'll get $200 of stock gifted to him. If you can bring them in, it makes it more personal. And it definitely helps because you get to see their name. Then after lunch and learn, you sit down and have lunch with them. You know their name. I mean, simple as that, but like even name tags go a long way in this.
Yeah, and smile. Like I remember, I think the first one I went to, Bill, was actually the first one ever I went to might have been in Uptown with Marcus Dilly, and his lovely wife Ashley was the greeter. And I remember walking in there and like it was a nice venue. Ashley's smiling. Marcus walks up, he's smiling, introduces himself, and like I'm like, wow, this is exciting. This is fun. Like I was already at eXp, but I'm like, I want to be a part of this, like always be thinking is what I'm doing making other people want to be a part of it. You have to create the experience for them before they join. That's how you get more people to join. They see what you're doing. And they're like, I want to be a part of that. And Lunch and Learns, you can transfer that feeling of what it's like to be at eXp before they're at eXp. So
and Ashley did a great job. Ashley did a great job. That was at Dilworth Grill. And me, Rich, and Marcus were doing the presentation. I came in. Ashley, man, it was like going to a wedding. She had, everything done and flowers out and little gift bags for everyone. She really went over the top. And her and Marcus just smile all the time anyway. So Lunch and Learns are a lot of fun. I missed them the last year because of the COVID, but now everything seems to be pretty much starting to open back up again. And as you, me, Craig, and Shelley, we can't wait to get started again with our Lunch and Learns.
Yep. And two guys right now, our great friend in this organization, Game Changers, that teaches on Thursdays, He's doing lunch and learns every Friday, and I know you've been a big part of that, Bill. So they're happening. Florida, lunch and learns are happening. In Texas, our friends Pat Hayes and Kyle Handy are still doing lunch and learns every Friday. So if you're in a state that allows in-person gatherings, which I think pretty much all of them do, maybe you got to wear a mask, but they allow them to a certain capacity limit, I'm sure. There's no excuses. You know, if you're in Canada, it sounds like the Canadians are pretty strict on COVID, so maybe not up there yet, but like in the States, start them now. Like if you got to wear a mask, wear a mask. Just start the lunch and learns. They're that important to your success.
Yeah, Chris Snow started one like 6 months ago in Florida. The last 3 months, I go up there help him out. So just so you know, AJ, this call made me miss that lunch and learn. Okay, so just
I know.
So I got to tell him sorry.
Yeah, Terry posted on my announcement that we were doing this in the group. He's like, "Does that mean Bill's not coming today?" I go, "Up at that 1 o'clock." Yes, that's what it is. So this is recorded and will live on forever. So we needed you here. I'm just looking at the questions and comments we're getting. So Chris Molnar asks, what are you guys' thoughts on lunch and learns via Zoom? Yeah, if you're in Canada, man. So if you got to do it on Zoom, do it on Zoom. That's fine. Just a lot of great comments. Yeah, people are loving it. So yeah, Sam, good point. The most important word in the world is your name. Use their names. You know, so you get the name tag. You can use their names, greet them by name. Well, guys, I would just challenge you, like tactically, you know, get it on the schedule. You're going to be nervous. Just get it on the schedule. Enroll some people to do it with you. If there's nobody local to do it with you, just do it. If it's you and one other person showing up to the title company and you got Uber Eats dropping off food and you're just hitting the model explain on your computer, like that's how it can start. $1 million a year business can be built out of that. And actually, that's how they are built. That's how people start. It was Craig sitting down with Bill over a beer talking about eXp. It was me bumping into Craig at the parking lot. Like our organizations are built on these small interactions where we were just willing to take a risk. So yeah. So weekly lunch and learn, monthly leadership mastermind. I think that's crucial at like a macaroni grill. At least quarterly fun events that you're doing, holiday parties, and if you're gaining momentum, do a quarterly big event. Like if you can get 50 people in a room, you'll get someone with influence in the company to travel there. If you can get 100, you can get someone to travel there. If you can get a couple hundred, you can get someone maybe a little bit higher up to travel there. If you can get 1,000, you might get Glenn Sanford in the room. So make that a goal. It's possible for everyone. Any parting words of advice, Bill, and we'll wrap this up.
Yes. Last thing, you can take and make it an event. You can say, come next Thursday to find out how to increase your sales doing social media. And our guest is going to be Craig LePage. Okay. And I would get up there and say, listen, thanks for everyone coming out today. We're going to have Craig LePage go over the do's and don'ts of how to post on Facebook and Instagram. It's going to teach you a lot of great stuff. But before we start with Craig's great information he's going to share with us today, we want to thank eXp as their sponsor for today. And they're just going to go over about a 15-minute presentation of what eXp is all about. So you're giving back something to the community. It doesn't have to be a straight up eXp explained. It can be an event where you're giving back, make it free to everyone because you want some non-eXp agents to show up to get the opportunity to look at the benefits of eXp.
Let's talk about real quick before we wrap up, just the importance of the invite and then follow up. I remember when I'd get in the car with you, Bill, if we were going somewhere and you'd always have this yellow pad on your passenger seat. I always have to move it. Like this guy built this organization on a yellow pad. Like you don't
old school,
old school, baby. Follow up. Like if you invite them on Monday and they commit Monday and the thing's on Thursday, they're going to forget most likely. So remind them the night before, remind them the day of. Like you could even like when they say yes on Monday, say, awesome. Do you have any dietary restrictions? We want to make sure we have, food that you can eat there, and kind of make it, lighthearted. And then on Thursday morning, hey, just want to let you know that we did get a dairy-free option for you. Can't wait to see you. Because the more that they feel like obligated to go, the better. Because if they just feel like it's going to be a buffet and whether or not they show up is not a big deal, they might not show up. But if they know like you have a meal, you took special consideration for them to be there, they're going to be like, oh man, you know, I told this buyer I could show a house at 12:30, but I'll have to push it back to 1 so I can make this. So that's my thought process on follow up. What do you have to say on the invite, Bill?
The invite, it's a phone call. It's not a text or an email. It's definitely a phone call. And you're going to invite them if the lunch and learns on Tuesday, you're going to invite them the previous Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday. And then if it's Tuesday, Monday night, you're going to shoot them a text. And then Tuesday morning, already paid for your lunch, right? I already paid for your lunch. Look forward to seeing you there, even though you're not paying for the lunch and the host is, you know, you kind of are. And
lunch is paid for. See you there.
And the follow-up is within the next 48 hours, touch base with them. Hey, let's meet up for coffee because I know you got some questions. And when it comes to my yellow pad, I'm going to hold this up to AJ. You can see it. I actually have a list of who's qualifying this month on my level 1, who's qualifying next month, who's signing up, who's hot and who's cold. So I write it down because I have to see it. Now, I also use Trello. And I know some people like Heidi Hines, she just got it in CRM Grow. So you have to find some kind of tracking system that you look at every day.
Yeah.
Because if you see it every day, you have a better chance of growing your organization.
Yep. 100%. Yeah. You just make the call, guys. Make the call. Be excited. If you have to, show up at their house and actually take them to the lunch, do that too. It's that important.
Lauren Rocco used to do that every big event. She'd say, y'all meet me in the Starbucks parking lot. She put 3 or 4 in the car. And what did they all do? They all talked to eXp on the way down, all to eXp on the way back.
Yeah. It's fun, man. Like, I think that's the thing people just forget. Like, it's fun doing this kind of stuff. Like, agents, whether you're successful, selling 100 homes a year, whatever, like, people like this. It's fun to just not be stuck in the day-to-day of selling houses. It's fun to get out, see other people, go to lunch, drive to an event. I just really look back on those first couple of years very fondly. We just had a lot of fun. I just remember being a lot of fun more than anything. And I just hope that everyone gets going in their local markets. And in Charlotte, like, if you're listening to this, Lunch and Learns still work today. So if you're still looking to build, get a weekly Lunch and Learn going up again in Waxhaw or Matthews or, Statesville, whatever. Like, Lunch and Learns still work. They don't ever stop working. New agents get licensed every single day. And the new agents that get licensed today, they're the top producers in 3 years. That's why regardless of when you join, this is always a massive opportunity because agents retire, agents get out of the business, and the biggest producers 5 years from now got licensed today. The biggest producers next year got licensed 4 years ago. So it's like, it's this never ending opportunity if you're willing to get after it. So
AJ, I want to leave everyone with one last thing. I remember AJ, he had like 200 agents. And then a few months later, we're sitting at his office because we were calling agents together, inviting them to Lunch and Learn. And 2 things. First, AJ looked at me and said, let's have a competition today. I said, what's that? He's like, who can get 9 no's first? Because by the 10th one, it's going to be the yes. So a no was almost a good thing because we're getting closer to the yes. So don't just get discouraged by a no. Because I have people that have told me no, and 18 months later, join. So never get discouraged about that. And the second thing is, I'm sitting down with AJ, and he looked at me. I said, where are you at today? And he's like, man, I got 497 agents. And he kept looking. About 2 hours later, I was like, check your phone again. He hit 500 agents. And that was amazing for me to sit back and think, AJ, I think I had like 80 agents at the time or something, or 100. And I was like, 500 agents, that would just be amazing. Guys, AJ's going to hit 4,000 agents in the next week. Think about that. In 3 years, he went from 500 agents to 4,000 agents.
Yeah.
And guess what? He didn't know 4,000 agents. he maybe knew 100 of them. Okay. That's the key to this, guys. You don't have to be the best at agent attraction. You just got to go get your warm and fuzzies, sit down, talk to them, show them the opportunity. You're actually giving them a gift. Listen, I hug Craig and Shelly at every big event when I get introduced on stage, and Craig and Shelly introduce me. And Craig absolutely hates it. He's not a hugger. He's a big guy. He's like 6'4", but they changed my life. So I let him know it. So I always embarrass LePage when I see him.
Yeah, that's awesome, man. It truly is when you start thinking about who can I invite to see this, instead of thinking like, oh, they might say no, they might, think less of me because I'm asking them to take a look at an opportunity that they might not be interested in. Like, start thinking like, whose life can I change today? Because all of our lives are changed because of the person that told us about eXp. And get to know agents. I mean, shoot, prior to joining eXp, I probably only knew 30 agents. I was only in real estate for 4 years, so I didn't know that many agents. So awesome, man. I know we could talk forever on this, but I think, anyone watching that was curious on how to do a lunch and learn now knows. If you don't, rewatch this, take better notes, and just implement. And if you're in the game changers and you can actually fill a room with a lot of people, there's a good chance that you'll get me or Bill there in the future. You'll get other of the influencers in the Game Changers group, because we do travel. We do help other people grow. I mean, we're doing it all the time. Bill's going to Scottsdale next week. I just got that from Cabo. Like, we're all in. You just got to take one step towards us, and we'll take one step towards you. And we may have some requirements of how many people need to be there at this point, just based on time. But Bill, you always took that as a challenge. I love that you called Gene. He'd be like, you need 250 there. You called Brett, I need 200 there. You call Glenn, I need 500 there. And what did we do? We did it. I love it. Well, awesome. We'll wrap this up, Bill. Tons of value. Always great seeing you, my friend.
Great seeing you too. Bye, everyone.